Good evening, welcome and happy Chanukah to one and all who are joining us here this evening from across the globe. Tonight's class is dedicated by Dudi Farkash from the Brooklyn Financial Group, a representative of Guardian Life Insurance of America, in the merit of Hinda Bas Rachel, for a complete and speedy recovery, as well as in the merit of Shmuley Farkash, in honor of his 10th birthday on the 3rd day of Chanukah, Mazel Tov. Tonight's class is also dedicated by David and Ida Schattenstein in the loving memory of the Kedoshim of Mumbai and Rabbi Gavriel Noyach and Rivki Holtzberg. Also in the loving memory of a young soul, Alta Shula Swerdlov, the daughter of Rabbi Yossi and Hindel Swerdlov, Tehei Nishmasam Tzrura B'Tzroir HaChayim. This evening, we are going to explore what would seem like an obscure, minor, and perhaps irrelevant nuance and detail. Why even focus on such a minor detail? And yet, upon deeper reflection, we come to realize how sometimes such a seemingly irrelevant and insignificant nuance becomes a springboard and a catalyst for a profound and elaborate, extremely relevant reflection. And what I am referring to is a subtle change in the story recorded in this week's Torah portion, Mikeitz. Pharaoh, the emperor of Egypt, dreams. He has a dream. And the Torah describes the dream, the way Pharaoh experiences it. Please open up your curriculum. Right below the video, you have the PDF curriculum to source number 1. Source number 1 is the beginning of the portion of Mikeitz. The Torah describes the dream of Pharaoh. V'hinei min ha'ya'or oilos sheva paros yefois mara uvrios basar. From the canal come up 7 cows. What type of cows? Yefois mara. Beautiful appearance, ubrios basar, and healthy in flesh. Vatirena ba'achu, and they are shepherding in the swamp. Following these 7 cows, another 7 cows come up from the canal. Rois mara v'dakos basar. They are a very bad, ugly appearance, and dakos basar. Their flesh is very lean, impoverished. And we know the continuation of the story. The 7 ugly and lean cows swallow the 7 beautiful and healthy, robust cows. Granted. Now, Pharaoh wakes up. He's seeking desperately an expert to explain to him the nature of the dreams. but all of the explanations and interpretations somehow are unpleasing to Pharaoh, and that's where Joseph is summoned. He's summoned from his prison cell to the emperor of Egypt. And now the Torah has Pharaoh repeating the dreams to Joseph, seeking an explanation and an interpretation for these dreams. And when he repeats his first dream, there's a subtle change. Source number 2, Mikeitz Perek Mamalef, Vayedaber Para El Yosef. Pharaoh speaks to Yosef, and he says, my dream, I'm standing at the canal. And from the canal come up 7 cows. Briyos basar v'yifois toyar. Healthy in flesh and beautiful in appearance. Vatirena ba'achel. And once again they are shepherding in the swamp. And following these 7 cows come up another 7 cows. Dalois v'rois toyar miyot. They are impoverished and they look very bad, very poor. A subtle change. When the dream happens, Pharaoh describes the first cows. First, he says, their appearance was beautiful and their flesh was healthy. When he repeats the dream, the order is changed. First, he describes the fact that their flesh was healthy, and then that they looked beautiful. The same is true in the 7th set of cows. The first time, he focuses on their looks, on their appearances. He says 7 cows came up which looked very bad, and then dakais basar, their flesh was lean. When the dream is repeated from Pharaoh to Joseph, here the order is changed. First he says the 7 cows that came up, the 2nd set of cows, were dalois, they were impoverished, they were lean, v'rois toyar miyod. And then he describes their appearance, their look, their countenance. They looked really bad. So both in the good cows, in the robust cows, and in the lean cows, the order is changed from how the dream occurs to how the dream is repeated by Pharaoh to Joseph. Why? In Torah, everything is meticulous, precise. Even the order of things. You may say, what's the difference if he said this first or that first? But that's not the case. In Torah, we know that every single sentence, even word, even letter, and the order of words and phrases is precise, meticulous, and contains untold layers of depth, significance, and symbolism. This is what we want to explore this evening. Why this subtle change? In the dream, the focus is first on appearance, followed by the healthy condition of the animal. In the repetition of the dream, the focus first is on the healthy or unhealthy condition of the animal, followed by the look, by the appearance of the cow. In Medrash, this question is raised. In Medrash Tanchuma, portion of Mikeitz, and the Medrash gives an explanation. And the explanation has to do with the fact that Pharaoh was testing Joseph's intuition and ability to know dreams, and therefore changed the order precisely to see if Joseph would pick up on the fact that he was repeating the story not the way it occurred, and Joseph indeed picked up on it. That's a midrashic interpretation. But this evening, I want to present another interpretation given by one of the greatest Jewish sages and minds of last generation. His name was Rabbi Yosef Razin, also Joseph. He was the rabbi of the city of Dvinsk, or one of the 2 rabbis of the city of Dvinsk, And he's known as the Rogachover Gaon. He was born in a city called Rogachov, known as the genius of Rogachov, the Rogachover Gaon. He has a set of works known as Tzofnas Paneach. Actually, the name that Pharaoh gave Joseph, because his name, Rabbi Rosen's name was Yosef, as I mentioned. And Tzofnas Paneach means he reveals, he exposes, he deciphers that which is concealed. The Rogachover Gaon was a brilliant mind. One of the greatest Jewish minds, not only of last generation, but of many generations. And this evening, we are going to explore one insight that he presents concerning this change of order in the story of Pharaoh's dreams. I must emphasize that his discussion about this is more elaborate and encompasses many more references and details. But tonight we will only deal with one aspect of his presentation, of his interpretation. As usual in the works and writings of the Rogachover Gaon, every detail, even when it's a story about Pharaoh's dream, is suddenly discovered in many other aspects of Torah literature, including halacha, Jewish law. Because for the Rogachover, the entire Torah was one large organism, and therefore the smallest detail is interconnected and intertwined with every other detail and nuance in Torah literature and law. So the Rogachover right away focuses our attention to a question in the Jerusalem Talmud. Open up your sources in the curriculum under the video, source number 3. In Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud Tractate Yuma, the beginning of chapter 6, Yuma Perek Vav Alach Aleph, there is a discussion there about the 2 goats that the high priest would offer on the holiest day of the year on Yom Kippur. The Torah says that 2 goats were brought to the holy temple, to the Beis Hamikdash, or to the tabernacle, to the Mishkan, and Aaron, or the high priest, would then cast a lot. 1 goat was offered in the temple, and its blood was brought into the Holy of Holies, where it was sprinkled. Another goat was sent to a mountain called Azazel. So 2 goats had to be chosen before Yom Kippur. So the Yerushalmi asks this question: Meshubach begufoy, meshubach b'marav, mi koidem. If you see a goat in the store, 1 goat is meshubach begufoy. It's superior in its very body. The other one is superior in its looks. It looks better. It looks nicer. Its body may be less robust, less healthy, but it looks better. Which one do you choose? And the Talmud discusses over there the issue. And finally the conclusion is Hada Amra, Meshubach begufay, Meshubach b'mara, Meshubach begufay kaida. If there's a choice between a goat which is superior in its health, in its body, or in its looks, in its projection, in its appearance, Meshubach begufay kaidem, the goat which is healthier in its body reigns supreme. It takes preference over the other goat. So we see clearly in halacha, the Rogachover says in Yerushalmi, when you have a competition between the animal which is healthier in its flesh and its body versus the other cow or the other goat which looks better, one takes precedence. Which one? Healthy in its flesh. He then brings another Gemara, not in the Jerusalem Talmud, in the Babylonian Talmud, and you'll have this in your sources under the video in your source sheet and curriculum number 4. Masechta Yuma Chafei Amud Beis, Tractate Yuma 25b. There's a question there concerning the order in which the morning offering of a sheep was presented and offered on the altar in the Beis Hamikdash in the Holy Temple. As you know, every morning and every afternoon there was an offering of 2 sheep. It was known as the carbon tamid. This was a regular sacrifice every single morning and every single day in the afternoon. 1 sheep in the morning, 1 sheep in the afternoon at dusk. And this sheep was sacrificed, it was slaughtered, and then its limbs and organs were brought up on the ramp to the altar, where they were consumed in the flame of the Mizbeach of the altar. This was a daily routine in the tabernacle and in the temple in Jerusalem, every single day, 7 days a week. Now the question is, what is the order of presentation? In which order would the limbs and organs of the animal be brought up to the altar and offered? So there is an argument, and there are a few opinions. One of the two arguing is the Tanakama, usually Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Yossi HaGalili. They have an argument. What is the order? To give an example, according to the Tana in the Mishnah in Yuma Daf Chafay Amud Aleph, the first thing that was brought up was the head and the right hind leg. Then the two forelegs were brought up. According to Rabbi Yossi HaGalili, the order was different. Before the two forelegs were brought up, the breast and the neck were brought up. What's the nature of their argument? Why are they arguing? Zog di Gemara Amar Rava. Rava said, Bein Tana Didan, Bein Rabbi Yossi, both our Tana and the Mishnah, the teacher of the Mishnah, Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Yossi hold that Basar Iluya de Bsar Azlinon. We go by the quality of the meat. Mar Azil Basar Evra de Bisra, or Mar Azil Basar Shamna de Bisra. Our master, our Tana in the Mishnah, goes by the limb with the most meat, where the other master, Rabbi Yossi, goes by the fattiness of the meat. So our Tana holds fattiness does not come first. What comes first? Substance. The limb that has more meat, it has more substance, so hat mehr Fleisch, that takes precedence. And therefore, the two forelegs will come up before the breast and the neck. According to Rabbi Yossi, no. Whichever limb has more fat, it looks fattier, it's fattier, it may not have more meat. But Shimna de Bsar, we go according to the fattiness of the meat, that takes precedence. And therefore, the two forelegs may have in quantity more substance, more meat, but certainly the breast and the neck have more of the fatty appearance and look, and they take precedence according to Rabbi Yossi. So the Rogatchover shows here again we have a similar, although not totally similar argument. What takes precedent? According to Tanakama, it's the limb that has more meat. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's the limb which has more fat. Now you might say, why is this an argument? What's the relevance? But in Jewish law, every one of these arguments is extremely meticulous. For the first Tana, one takes precedence. For Rabbi Yossi, the other takes precedence. Because these two components, more substance, more health, but poorer looks, versus less meat, less substance, less health, but better appearance, really represents two approaches to Judaism and to the service of God and really to life. Sometimes there are things that look very good. They are captivating, mesmerizing, engaging, interesting. As far as human interest, they win. But does that necessarily mean that they are superior in substance, in truth, in content, in theme? Take two speakers or two teachers. One speaker, one lecturer may possess extraordinary oratory skills. He or she is very dramatic, engaging, captivating, mesmerizing. They know how to fluctuate their voices. They go up and go down. They know how to take off their glasses and put on their glasses. They know how to lift their hands in the proper way, in proper context and proper fashion. And the audience is sitting at the edge of the seat, listening, absorbing every single word. They are masters of entertainment and of drama and of looks, of appearances. But sometimes the theme, the substance is deeply impoverished or empty or wrong. Sometimes it's the other way around. There's a teacher or a communicator who gives real substance, real teichen, as they say in Hebrew, real content, good stuff, but maybe the projection, the appearance, the external dynamics are not as powerful and engaging. This is true on every level. It's true in writing. It's true in people, personalities. It's true in almost every area of life. There is the substance of something, its internal properties and qualities, and then there are its looks, the way it's perceived, its public relations element, its commercialized component, the way people look at it, the way it's externally projected and communicated. Now, sometimes the two match. It's beautiful on the inside, and it's not just beautiful on the inside, but it's truly substantial on the inside, and it's beautiful on the outside. Sometimes one prevails over the other. On a higher level, says the Rakatchavar, this reflects two approaches to the service of God. There is kavana and maisa, meditation, spiritual attachment, ecstasy, feelings, and then there is the pragmatic, physical, practical deed we call the mitzvah. Two components in Judaism. There are the laws of Judaism, halacha, 613 mitzvos, instructed to the Jewish people in the Torah with all of their many details and nuances. And then there is the glory, the glamour, the energy, the meditation, the inner melody, the inner music. One has to do with the actual meat, the substance. One has a lot to do with projection, the way it's perceived, with the looks. It's two different components. There is the meat, the bread and meat of Judaism, the very substance of Judaism, Jewish observance, kiyum ha-mitzvahs, the observance of actual mitzvahs. And then there is the glamour, the appearance, the ambiance, the atmosphere, the projection, the aroma, the smell. Which is superior? There's a fascinating medrash. The medrash you can see in your curriculum, source number 5. The medrash quotes a verse in Shir Hashirim, Song of Songs. L'reach shmonecha toivim shemen turak shmecha. The aroma of your oil is great, it's delicious. Shemen turak shmecha, your name is like oil that is transferred from one vessel to another vessel. Says the Medrash, Kol ha-mitzvah she'asa l'fanecha avis, reichos hayu, aval anu shemen turak shmecha. All of the mitzvahs that our patriarchs have done to you, God, were reichos. They had a beautiful fragrance and aroma. But our mitzvahs are like actual oil. So the Midrash Rabbah Shir Hashirim, chapter 1, verse 3, explains the sequence in the two parts of this verse. The aroma of the oil versus the oil. The mitzvahs of the patriarchs were like the aroma of the oil. The fragrance, the smell. Our mitzvahs are like the oil itself. Not just the smell of the oil, but the substance of the oil. This captures a fundamental difference between the Jewish experience, the Torah experience before the Torah was given, before Sinai and after Sinai. Before the Torah was given, the Jewish experience was about an aroma, smell. It was all about the spirituality, the inner feeling, the inner intimacy with the divine. The patriarchs, the matriarchs who observed the mitzvahs of the Torah, when we say they observed them, it doesn't mean they observed them in the physical way we did them. It means that they connected to the energy of every mitzvah, every law in Torah, whether it's lighting the Hanukkah menorah, whether it's putting on tefillin, whether it's eating kosher, whether it's prayer. Every single mitzvah has a body, it has a physical incarnation, but it also has a soul. It has the substance of it, the physical, concrete manifestation, but it also has the aroma, the smell, the energy, the inner passion, the inner meditation that accompanies this particular mitzvah, the state of mind, the state of consciousness. Sometimes the two work together, sometimes the two are very different realities, as we know. The patriarchs had the inner smell of the mitzvah. We have the actual oil, the actual concrete oil. So before the Torah was given, says the Rakachavagon, what came first? What was more emphasized? What was more emphasized was the look, the appearance, the beauty. After the Torah was given, the emphasis is primarily on the very substance. The physical act of a mitzvah may not seem very glamorous. It may actually not be glamorous at all. One might ask the question, what's the value of putting on tefillin in the morning physically? I will meditate and connect to God, connect to my soul. Much more effective, much more exciting, much more interesting, looks much more glamorous. The physical act of putting on tefillin, the physical act of putting on tzitzis, the physical act of eating matzah, of shaking a lulav, of lighting a physical candle with a flame and a wick. The main thing is the spiritual energy, the warmth. The physical act is only a means for an end. But that's the difference before Sinai and after Sinai. Before Sinai, the experience of Judaism came from within. It was a human experience, the human soul longing to touch God. How? Through his or her mind, heart, ecstasy, spiritual sensitivity, song, music, feelings of transcendence. After Matan Torah, after the Torah was given, God communicated the 613 mitzvahs in the Torah. These are vehicles through which we connect to God, not through our own feeling and experience. That's another dimension of Judaism. But these are actually objective acts which God asks of us to do. This is his inner and intimate will. And when we perform these acts, we have a very real, intimate connection with God. We become one with Hashem, with God, who commanded us and gave us these practical, pragmatic mitzvahs. So the physical implementation of the mitzvah may not appear glamorous or sensational or emotionally stimulating, but that very physical act contains the essence of God, because this is his will, and he and his will are one. And therefore, when we implement this mitzvah in our life, we become one with him. Not because we experienced him. We actually touch the divine. Not on our terms, but on his terms. We transcend our own human ego, even our spiritual ego. We transcend our own parameters and faculties, our own imagination and even spiritual sensibility, as we touch God's essence, which completely transcends the most sublime and aloof experience of human spirituality. So it's not just a smell and aroma, it's the oil itself. It's the substance of the oil. The Rogatchover, in his usual links with so many different areas, connects it with another argument in the Gemara. You'll open up your next source, source number 6. The Talmud at the end of Tractate Horius, Masechta Horius, brings the following question, the following debate. Pligi bar Reb Shimon ben Gamliel v'Rabbana, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel and the rabbis had the following argument. Chad Amar Sinai Adif v'Chad Amar Oiker Harim Adif. Who is a greater scholar? Somebody who is a Sinai or somebody who is an Oiker Harim? Sinai means somebody who is a Baki, somebody who professes encyclopedic knowledge in all of Jewish law. Oiker Harim is somebody who knows how to uproot mountains. He may not profess knowledge, encyclopedic knowledge in all of the laws, but he's much sharper. He can take an idea or a law or a concept and undermine it. He can uproot a mountain. He can show the questions and then go deeper and give an answer and then go deeper and ask a question and deeper and deeper. He knows how to dig deep. He may not have the broad knowledge horizontally, but he contains a vertical brilliance and genius. Which one is greater? And the Gemara, the Talmud gives an example. Rabbi Yosef Sinai, Rabbi was Oiker Harem. There were two great Babylonian sages in modern-day Iraq, Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi, Talmudic sages. Rabbi Yosef, his knowledge was broad. Rabbi was an uprooter of mountains, very sharp, but not so broad. Didn't have the same knowledge, the amount of quantity, the amount of knowledge that Rabbi Yosef had. They send there to the Holy Land the question, which one is superior? And the answer was, Sinai is superior. Not that one who can go deeper and deeper and excavate every concept in a far more profound way and uproot it, but actually the one who simply has more knowledge of law. And when you come with a question to him, he can give you a clear, decisive answer. He may not be as profound, as deep, as intellectually brilliant and stimulating and engaging and mesmerizing as his friend, as his colleague. But bottom line, you have to know what to do, how to behave. He's the one you can come to. You can rely on him. He has it clear, he has it down pat, and he professes knowledge in everything. This, the Rakachova says, is a similar argument to the argument in Tanakama, Rabbi Yossi Haglili, do you go according to the limb which has more meat or which has more fat? Sinai is more meat, Oiker Harem is more fat. It's more geschmack, it's more delightful, there's more fattiness there. May not be healthier, as you know, fat may not be healthier, may not have more substance in the sense of the bottom line, the concrete law, what do I go away with? But it's more exciting, it's more fat. And the same question about the two goats in Talmud Yerushalmi. Comes the Ragachover and says that in Yosef himself, in Joseph himself, there were also two stages. Who is the paradigm of good looks in the Torah, in the 5 books of Moses? The only man, not woman, the only man who is described in the Torah itself, in the Chumash, as being beautiful, handsome, good-looking, gorgeous, is who? Yosef, Joseph. In Parshas Vayeshev, the next source number 7, Vahi Yosef Yefei Toyar v'Yefei Mara. Yosef was beautiful. Yosef was handsome, Yefei Toyar, and Yefei Mara, he had a beautiful countenance. And as we know, the continuation of the story would be, of course, that when Yosef is a servant in his master's home, Potiphar, Potiphar's wife is deeply attracted to Joseph's beauty to the extent that she does not stop nudging him and pursuing him. Shich v'imi, come lie with me. And Joseph refuses again and again and again until that fateful day when nobody is home. And she tries to violate Joseph, who runs out of the home and leaves his cloak in her hand. And she changes the story. She accuses him of wanting to violate her and has him incarcerated in prison. And he's only freed when he interprets Pharaoh's dreams discussed in the beginning of the class. When Jacob, Joseph's father, is on his deathbed, and he speaks to each of his sons, and he tells Joseph, B'nai Sa'da alei shur, daughters walked on the walls, and the Midrash and Rashi explain that Egyptian girls would stand on the walls of Egypt just to get a glimpse at Joseph's beauty. The Midrash discusses how Joseph would dress, how he was mesalsel b'sarei, the way he carried himself, his body, his hair, his clothes. He was gorgeous, he was handsome, he was beautiful. So with Joseph, the focus is Yifei Toya v'Yifei Mara. But then the Rekachava said something happened. Because you see, when we talk about Joseph's beauty, it's not just physical beauty. The Bible itself attests to Joseph's greatness. How God accompanies him in Egypt, the blessings he gives to Potiphar's home, the blessings he brings into the prison cell. He saves Egypt from famine. He's appointed to the prime minister of Egypt. In fact, he's the only one he's the only one in our literature. He was known as Yosef HaTzadik, Yosef the righteous one. Not Abraham, not Isaac, not Jacob, not Moses. Yosef is the tzaddik. Jacob loved Joseph more than all of his children. There was a deep spiritual reason for it. Joseph's beauty wasn't just external beauty, outer beauty. He liked dressing up and straightening, combing his hair and looking gorgeous. Joseph's beauty came from internal beauty. Joseph embodied and personified the beauty of the Abrahamic faith, the splendor of Judaism, the grace of ethical monotheism, the Schönheit, the beautiful dimensions of the traditions of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is what Joseph represented. When you looked at Joseph, you saw inner beauty and outer beauty. And he emphasized and represented the beauty of Torah and the beauty of mitzvahs. And that made him very vulnerable. In the story of Potiphar's wife, the Talmud tells us something that, according to the Rakachava Gaon, changed something in Joseph. Go to your next source number 8. The Talmud in Masechtas Sotah Tractate Sotah Daf Lamed Vav Amud Beis tells us the story, and it's brought in Rashi and in Zohar and in Medrash, that according to one opinion, when it says Joseph came home to do his work, he almost succumbed and fell prey to the wife of Potiphar, who wanted to engage him in a relationship with her. In that moment, the image of his father appeared in the window, and he told him, Yosef, all of the names of your brothers will be transcribed on the stones in the apron of the high priest when the tabernacle and the temple would be built. The high priest had an apron, and on it there were a stone with the names of each of the 12 tribes, and you are among them. Do you want to be erased? And Joseph abstained. He abstained the last moment from engaging with Potiphar's wife. He defied the temptation in its eyes. He stared the temptation in its eyes, and he ran outside. Vayonas vayetzer achutza, and he said no. Vayemoyin, he refused. The Rekachava says what Yosef then realized is beauty, yes. Glamour, yes. To express the dazzling brilliance and appeal of spirituality, of godliness, of Torah, of what it means to be a true human being filled with integrity and morals and values and faith, yes. But it must follow the halacha. It must come after the emphasis on concrete observance and commitment to the practical commitment of mitzvahs, to the practical implementation of mitzvahs. It can't come first. It must come second. Beauty, appearance, something to look good, to be projected, is important, and it's beautiful. But it has to follow substance. Because if it precedes substance, it's vulnerable to corruption. Sometimes not, but sometimes yes. Only when you are certain with your substance, you're certain that the message is true, There is integrity in the message. There is emes. There's truth in the message. Now the projection becomes a beautiful projection of something true, of something substantial. But if beauty is divorced from substance, sometimes something could be beautiful on the outside, but it's hollow, it's futile, it's vain. We know sometimes there are things that look beautiful, but they're empty. Their allure is powerful, it's captivating, it's mesmerizing. Images, websites, blogs, magazines, movies, commercials, shows. They're very, very attractive. But what's the message they convey? Sometimes pure vanity and nothingness, and sometimes actually corrupt, immoral, and promiscuous messages, extremely unproductive or even detrimental to those who are engaged by it. For beauty to be truly beautiful, it must follow substance. Comes the Ragachover and says, this will explain the change in the dreams. When Pharaoh has the dream, Pharaoh himself, the Egyptian emperor, the paradigm of Egyptian culture at that time when he has the dream, what comes first? What comes first is appearance. And then he focuses on the actual substance, the healthy condition of the flesh of the cow. First he says in the dream, what does he see? 7 cows come up from the canal, from the river Yefais Mara. They're beautiful. They have a beautiful appearance. And then Briyas Basar. They're also healthy in flesh. Appearance comes first. When he repeats the dream to who? To Yosef. When Joseph is in his presence. When Joseph is in Pharaoh's presence. And he's repeating the dream to Yosef. To the Ivri, to the Jew. To the representative of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who will ultimately change the very conditions in Egypt and save the Fertile Crescent from famine and devastation. Here the order changes. Here Pharaoh says first, Sheva Paris Briyas Basar. I saw 7 cows with robust and healthy flesh. And then V'yefas Toyar. They also had a beautiful appearance. Here substance precedes beauty. Brains precede looks. Not exactly. The inner condition of the animal, the fact that it's truly healthy, precedes and takes precedence over the beauty of the animal. Sinai over Oiker Harim. Meshubach begufay over Meshubach b'marai. Avra de Bisra over Shamna de Bisra. This explains also another very interesting change. When Pharaoh was having the dream, the cows are Yefais Mara. They have a beautiful appearance. When he repeats the dream, Yefas Toyar. The word Toyar is used, not Mara. Toyar represents the appearance of each particular limb and bone and organ in the human body, the individual structure of the body. Mara is the general physique and shape of the face and of the entire body. Mara focuses on the general countenance, the projection of the person. Toar focuses on the individual components which make up the human physique. So just as in the dream itself, appearance comes before health, what type of appearance is emphasized? Mara. The general collective look. The look of it. When he repeats the dream, where health precedes looks, where substance precedes projection, what type of projection does he describe? Toyar, which is already more focused. It's more concentrated. It's more detailed oriented. It's more substantial. This, of course, is deeply applicable and connected to the Hanukkah theme in a rather very interesting way. Open up your sources to source number 9. Right below the video of a curriculum, source number 9. When the Medrash wants to describe who was Greece, What did Greek culture represent? What was the nature of the oppression against the Jewish people? The Medrash says, Bereshis Rabbi, Parsha base, source number 9. The Greek Syrian Emperor Antiochus and his legions came to the Jewish people in Israel and said, write down on the horn of an ox that you don't have a part in the God of Israel. This was one method of many which they used to oppress the Jewish people and deprive them from their faith, religion, and identity. But why this particular decree? Write it on the horn of an ox, on the horn of a bull. Why the horn of a bull? There are many interpretations. Let me give one. Who is compared to a bull, an ox, in biblical episodes? It's Yosef. When Moses bids farewell to the tribes of Israel, he blesses all of the tribes at the end of Chumash and Vezos HaBracha. He speaks to Yosef, he speaks to Yosef, and he compares him then to the ox, B'chor Shorei Hadar Loi. He's given the beauty of the shor of the ox, V'karnei Re'em Karnov, and the horns of the wild ox are his horns, as Rashi explains. They are beautiful, they are very elegant, they have an exquisiteness to them. So the horn of the ox in the biblical imagination represents Joseph, defined by beauty. We know that the Greek culture and the Greeks had a tremendous infatuation with aesthetics, with beauty. They appreciated exquisite splendor. Their structures were picturesque. They loved a human body, a physique, which was perfectly symmetrical and handsome and comely and shapely. In fact, most of their sport competitions, their athletic competitions, were done with nude bodies. For them, there was nothing to be ashamed of. On the contrary, they celebrated it. And generally, they introduced into culture and wanted to make it universal, an obsession with aesthetics, with beauty, in art, in architecture, in literature, in sports, and in many other arenas in human life. The Greeks came to the Jews and said, Kisvu lachem al keren hashor. We want you to write on the horn of the bull, representing beauty in the biblical writings, representing the beauty of Yosef, the paradigm of beauty. We want you to write on that beauty that you don't have a part in the God of Israel. Beauty is divorced from ethics. For the Greeks, that which was aesthetical was ethical. If it was beautiful, that made it worthy of worship. If it was aesthetically sensible, if it was picturesque, if there was exquisiteness to it, that itself was worthy of making it something truly substantial, something we can embrace in life. But the Jewish version of beauty is different. It's Joseph's version of beauty. We also appreciate beauty. The temple had to be beautiful. We have to beautify mitzvahs. The Torah says Sarah was beautiful, Sarah, Rebecca was beautiful, Rachel was beautiful. But in the Jewish perspective, beauty must reflect morality. If beauty doesn't reflect morality, integrity, spirituality, true values, if beauty doesn't reflect godliness, holiness, sanctity, it's shallow, it's vain, sometimes it's also immoral and corrupt. If it's ethical, it can be aesthetical. If it's only aesthetical and unethical, then it's sometimes grotesque. It's sometimes ugly. So therefore, when the dream is repeated to Joseph, beauty, yes, but the brios basar, the healthiness of the flesh, comes first. And this is true in the entire Judaic experience, especially after the Torah was given. There's two elements. There's the beauty of Judaism. There's the glamour. There's the energy, the atmosphere, the ambience, the song, the melody, the spiritual feeling. And sometimes people feel that should take precedence over the actual meat, the actual substance, the learning of Torah and the celebration of mitzvahs and the observance of mitzvahs in Jewish law. But that can sometimes turn out to be an error, because then the beauty becomes divorced of the true Jewish experience. The focus must be Briyos Basar. Make sure you have the real meat, the real substance, the real truth, the real integrity. And then you fast toyar. And then let that truth be projected and be communicated in the most beautiful and aesthetical way. Have a wonderful evening and a happy Chanukah, a freilichen Chanukah.
Mama, naroi, ya yidam, ahoy, ya mama, naroi, ya yo. True.